Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenaton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. We got a champion today, like every other day, pretty much. But we got a champion today. We got another Ascended too, so it's a Shurima card and a bunch of Shurima supporting cards. We got XERATH today. Like everyone assumed, XERATH is also an Ascended like Renekton, Azir, and Nasus. And like a lot of people guessed, he does deal with destruction of some kind. Not mana gem destruction like I guessed, but instead he's a landmark synergy card and he synergizes with destroying landmarks. So let's actually look at XERATH real quick instead of just talking about him. First off, I'll say this before going too far into XERATH. I'm not impressed by stats alone. 4 mana 3/3 is kind of meh. So what does XERATH do? Well, he is a 4 mana 3/3, like I said. He's also Ascended, so he gets access to a second level up form, his level 2 form. When an allied landmark is destroyed, deal 1 to the weakest enemy. Okay. It's a repeatable source of pings. Hitting the weakest thing is usually going to kill it, so that's nice, especially against aggro decks. Still, though, XERATH's very fragile, so I'm not sure. Now, how do you level up XERATH? You've destroyed 4 allied landmarks this game, so not that difficult to level up XERATH using some countdown landmarks. I'd say you could also use some Unraveled Earths to summon Roiling Sands, Rock Hoppers, Blue Sentinels plus Rite of Calling is also another thing. So kind of easy to level him up. Since especially he doesn't have to see you destroy those landmarks, so that's cool. You could actually have him level up on the turn 4 he comes down. And what does he do when he levels up? Well, he's now a 4 mana 4/4 that deals 3 to the weakest enemy. So pretty much the same thing, just deals an extra 2 damage. Not much of a change here. The biggest change the biggest impactful change is probably that 1 extra health. I guess dealing 3 now actually kills stuff on repeatable pings, so I like that too. But yeah, I'm actually not sure if XERATH goes through Spell Shield. I feel like XERATH, his pings will get blocked by Spell Shield, but I'm not 100% certain. And because, like I said earlier, he's an Ascendant, he has a extra level, a level 2 form. Level 3 form. What does he do when he levels up again from you restoring the Sun Disk? Well, he begins a 4 mana 5/9, so he's no longer fragile anymore. He's got a lot of meat to him now. He's very sturdy. Round start, deal 5 to the weakest enemy and the enemy nexus, and if enemy unit would die, obliterate it instead. So you're stopping last breaths, you're stopping things like rekindlers, pretty much any kind of death synergy. You're putting a very, very fast very fast clock on your opponent, basically arguably 2, maybe 3 rounds if you got some chip damage early on, and you're pretty much keeping their board clean. Now, you can't get multiple hits per turn because it's no longer landmark based, so level 1 and level 2 XERATH can get multiple hits per turn if you destroy multiple landmarks per turn. Level 3 XERATH only does his damage once a turn, and that's it. But it's still 5 damage, and it hits Nexus, so it's fine. It's a good trade-off. I'll be honest with you, though. Obviously, level 3 XERATH is impressive, like every level 3 Ascended is. But outside of Sun Discs, level 1 and level 2 XERATH, I'm not too impressed by him, right? Like, I get it. There's also, Shurima has Desert Naturalist, so you have some cute stuff you can do with Desert Naturalist to destroy your own landmarks. You get the Rock Bear, the 5/4. You get the Naturalist itself. You get the destroying a landmark progression and synergy for XERATH too. So that's kind of cute, but does that mean you play XERATH on 4 and then Desert Naturalist on 5 and hope you have a landmark on the field then? That's a little bit inconsistent if you ask me. And asking for your 4 mana 3/3 to survive a single turn is already a big task, in all honesty, because I feel like XERATH is going to be one of those cards. an opponent sees, they're gonna kill. Like, you will see a Xerath. If you see a Xerath, you kill him right away, I think. Or else your deck, or not your deck, your board is going to get ripped apart by the random pings, especially when he levels up. So, yeah. I feel like Xerath's going to be a removal magnet. He's going to come down, he's going to eat removal, or he's going to come down and not eat removal and then run away with the game. That's how I look at it. So here's a question. How do we build Xerath, in my opinion? I think there are two viable ways. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can build them, but I think the two best ways are either a Sun Disc deck that doesn't play the Emperor's deck, so 3 Xerath, 3 Renekton, and just win without the Sun or the Emperor's deck and win with leveled up Xerath just hitting your opponent. The other way is take the Talia Malphite deck and basically just replace Malphite with Xerath. I think those are the two best ways to build Xerath in theory. Now, again, like I said earlier, we still have another champion to come. It's most likely going to be Ziggs, and Ziggs might have some synergy with Xerath. Like, I feel like Xerath is a Vhagar situation where when we first saw Vhagar, we're like, wow, he's not bad, but he needs more. And then we saw Senna and the support cards, and we're like, okay, Vhagar is fine now. And I feel like that's going to happen with Xerath and Ziggs. Another reason I think that is because we haven't seen Bandle City's landmark destruction cards. So I could see Ziggs being landmark oriented, like have some synergy with landmarks, and then one of his followers or support cards could also destroy landmarks some way and help out a Xerath deck. So yeah, like, I like it because also I also like it with Talia though. Use Talia to copy a countdown landmark that just really helps out Xerath to either level up or get more pings in. So yeah, I like it. Especially like level 2 Xerath. Level 2 Xerath, dealing 3 every trigger is going to kill a lot of stuff quickly. So yeah. I'm just worried, like, landmark synergy decks haven't really been too, in my opinion, successful. Like, Talia Malphite has seen some success, and I guess you could argue, well, what about action decks, which I don't really count as synergy-based landmark decks, but they're just decks that play landmarks. Another deck a deck idea I've seen floating around is, how about Xerath Action? I am not the biggest fan of it, but you do have access to, like, Merciless Hunter and Ruin Runner, so maybe just a pile of good cards can get you a win. But yeah, I really feel like you need to get, like, a lot of cheap countdown landmarks and Roiling Sands to play Xerath, so Rock Hoppers and Unraveled Earth. That's it. So yeah, I'm looking at Xerath as just like a Malphite, in other words, like a Malphite style card. Another thing is, like, it lets you go outside of Targon. You don't have to play Targon now with Talia because this is also a Shurima card, and as is Talia, so now you can go into, like, PNZ or Bandle City or whatever. So yeah, I like it. I feel like Xerath's gonna easily find a deck. I just am not impressed by his overall power level early on, especially at level 1. But level 2 seems good enough. Now, what's his chance spell do? Well, it's Rite of the Arcane. 3 mana slow spell. Destroy an allied landmark or one of your mana gems to deal 4 to an enemy unit. This, I don't know. I like it. So, Black Spear is a good card. Like, Black Spear is proven its worth. 3 mana to deal 4 is a pretty good amount of damage for the cost. Now, this card's not fast, though, so going from fast to slow speed is a big jump, even though it is technically easier to activate than Black Spear, I'd say. Arguably easier to activate than Black Spear, because you're always going to be able to destroy a mana gem. So yeah, and destroying a landmark is a little restrictive in that you're probably only going to play this in the landmark destruction archetype. But yeah, maybe. I don't know. I like it, but I don't think I'm going to actually play this in my deck. But in my Xerath decks, I'm not going to be too sad to actually draw 2 Xeraths because this will help me level up Xerath. But again, it's a slow spell, and I'm not a big fan of slow spells. So yeah, I like it. We got a few more pages though for cards. So what's the next page? We got Endless Devout. A lot going on here. Endless Devout is a 3-mana 3/3, last breath, summon a Sarcophagus. Sarcophagus is a 1-mana landmark that says countdown 3, or when I'm destroyed, summon a Restored Devout, which is a 1-mana 5/3 fearsome. So, I don't know, I like it. 3-mana 3/3 is fine for the cost. Like, I'm not impressed by 3-mana 3/3s, but I'm not unimpressed by them. I'm like, okay, sure, 3-mana 3/3, that's fine. At least it can block fearsome, it trades well, sure. Leaves behind a landmark, which leaves behind a 5/3. If you have to wait all 3 turns to countdown to get the Restored Devout, that's bad. You, in my opinion, if you're playing Endless Devout, well, Endless Devout is really just for the landmark destruction deck. You need to destroy the Sarcophagus, or I guess you could use like a countdown card, like a card, like, I don't know, Time in a Bottle or something to accelerate the countdown. But yeah, I think you're only playing this card if you're looking for landmark destruction synergies for the Sarcophagus, really. Because if you're not, it's a really slow card, and a 1-mana 5/3 after 3 turns with the Sarcophagus on the field is honestly not that impressive, really. So yeah, like, I guess, like, it's fine for a XERATH deck because it helps you level up XERATH, it gives you some board presence, so sure. And Endless Devout getting sacrificed into, like, I guess, XERATH into Desert Naturalist is a cute curve. But still. Only really for a XERATH deck. Like a lot of these cards will be. Now the next card, Risen Altar. More of these landmark destruction cards. 6 mana landmark, countdown 3, or when I'm destroyed, summon Damian the Unbound? What's Damian the Unbound? Let's look at the next page. Damian the Unbound is a 7 mana 7/6 overwhelm with Spell Shield. It's just bigger Ruin Runner that still trades into Ruin Runner. Well, because of Ruin Runner, we know how annoying this combination of keywords is, just Spell Shield and Overwhelm. But one, you can't actually play Damian in your deck. There's no rarity gem, so you have to play Risen Altar. If you're not, again, like the Endless Devout and the Sarcophagus, if you don't have Landmark Destruction or Countdown Acceleration, Risen Altar is bad. So you need something. So that's already going to restrict exactly what kind of decks will want to play this card. So that's already a consideration. So the issue is it's a 6 mana do nothing. Like, that's the thing. It's a 6. In my opinion, if you're playing a card that costs 6 or more mana, it needs to do something right away, or either like do something right away, or just win the game or really put you far ahead the next turn. This card doesn't do really either of them, because next turn, if you don't do any countdown acceleration or destroy it, nothing happened. And even then, you're just getting a 7/6 with Overwhelm and Spell Shield, which is annoying, but meh. So yeah, like, I do think this card's playable, but it has to be in an archetype that can consistently activate it by destroying the altar itself. On either, best case scenario, the same turn you played it, or the next turn after, and that just feels a little clunky to me. Now, the next card, though, I like this card. Now, this card I'm a big fan of. Herald of the Magus. 5 mana 4/4. Bad stats for the cost. Not the worst, but kind of bad. When I'm summoned, though, if you've destroyed 4 allied landmarks this game, grant your allies everywhere +2/+2 and Overwhelm. Immediately, my mind jumps to Lee Sin. A way to buff your Lee Sins and give it Overwhelm already? That's great. And if you want to be less memey, Talia always loves Lee Sin. Sorry, Lee Sin. Talia always loves Overwhelm. Malphite can use this too to get Overwhelmed. One of the problems with Malphite is that he just gets chump blocked over and over. This is a really good card in my opinion. It's a little slow, I'll say, but if you can consistently meet the destroy 4+ allied landmarks condition by the time you want to play this, this card's great. Like, okay, so what is Talia right now? 3-5? Going to a 5-7 overwhelm, and then of course, like Malphite's already a big ball of stats, and just giving him more stats in overwhelm is great. So yeah, this card's extremely impressive to me. Sure, the stat line's bad, no keyword. So it's not really gonna have much of an effect by itself on the board. This card is setting up your future, it's setting up your win con, basically. So I like it. Now the funny thing is, like, in an actual Xerath deck, I don't think Xerath doesn't really benefit too much from this card. Like, Xerath honestly just likes the stats. Like, that's the best thing that Xerath gets from this is the extra 2/2 stats so he doesn't die to as many things. But yeah, I like it. Helps you set up your win cons in later games so your champions just can't get chump blocked over and over and over by things like, I don't know, dragonlings or hapless aristocrats. So I like it. Now the next card. Also a card I liked. I misread this card at first. I thought this card was bad at first. Waste Walker. 3 mana, 3/3 Overwhelm. When an allied landmark is destroyed, grant me +1/+1. I first misread this card and I thought it was similar to Kihiri, and I thought it just got +1/+1 if you had destroyed an allied landmark, and that was it. And then I reread the card and I realized, wait, this thing continuously grows. So you put this on the field, destroy a landmark, it goes to 4/4. Destroy another landmark, goes to 5/5, etc., etc., etc. I like this card because one, base stat line, it's fine and serviceable. 3 mana, 3/3s we've talked about are fine for the cost. Just one landmark destroyed already pumps this up to a premium 3-drop. 3 mana 4/4s are nuts for the cost. And then it has a good keyword in the form of Overwhelm. So as the game goes on and your opponent decides not to deal with this, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and harder to deal with. And there, it's going to turn into a win con by itself. And then you probably still have to deal with the Xerath as well, maybe some Talias. Herald of the Magus can set up a win too by giving Talia Overwhelm. I like it. Very solid in the landmark deck. I'm not sure if I would play this in all landmark decks, but I might, because even with no destruction, like even in decks that I'm not going to destroy landmarks, having countdown landmarks will count for Waste Walker. So yeah, like I could see this getting played in a deck that just plays like none of these landmark destruction synergy cards, but just plays like, I don't know, Ancient Preparation, Preservarium, Rock Hoppers, Unraveled Earths, etc., etc. I could see that happening. And now the next card. Construct of Desolation. 1 mana burst spell. Already a fan of it. I like cheap spells. Lee Sin. Let's go. But yeah, no, not for Lee Sin. Create a Ruinous Acolyte or an Obelisk of Power in hand. So, what are those cards? Ruinous Acolyte is a 2 mana 2/1 Fearsome. It's also a collectible card, so you can actually put this card in your deck. Play this card, destroy an allied landmark to grant allied Ruinous Acolytes everywhere +1/+1. Obelisk of Power is a landmark that says countdown 3, or when I'm destroyed, grant the strongest ally +2/+L. So the Obelisk is kind of meh. And the Ruinous Acolyte is not terrible. It's a cheap way to activate landmark destruction synergies, but I'm not a big fan of it. I really feel like most of the time, Construct of Desolation is going to be used to make a Ruinous Acolyte. I feel like the only time you're ever going to make an Obelisk of Power is if you need a landmark to destroy or to get your landmark synergies going. So I like it. Very flexible card. Not too high impact, though. And both of the cards it creates are collectible, so you could just put those cards in your deck if you want. But it reminds me of Three Sisters. Like, I like Three Sisters, so I like this card. You're paying basically 1 extra mana for flexibility, so I like it. I'm just not sure if a deck that wants to play Ruinous Acolyte would play this card, or they would rather just play Ruinous Acolyte itself. It might play like 3 Ruinous Acolytes and then like 1 or 2 Construct of Desolations. So I like it. I could see a Ruinous Acolyte archetype showing up. 2 mana 2/1 that grows with Fearsome. Reminds me a lot of Mistwraith decks, so it could create like a weird snowball deck where you just play all these fearsomes that grow over and over. Unlike the Mistrace, which only get +1/+0, this thing gets +1/+1, so it gets a little extra health. So I'm a big fan of it. So I see some potential here. The issue is like landmark synergy is a little bit tough for the Ruinous Acolyte, while all Mistrace asks is just play the card. And now Obelisk of Power itself. I think this card's bad. I don't think you should put Obelisk of Power in your deck, even if you're a landmark destruction deck. I feel like there's a bunch of other landmarks you can play over this if you just need more landmarks. I feel like the only reason you're going to see Obelisk of Power is someone's playing Construct of Desolation and they just need landmarks. That's all I see. Maybe in a deck that's like some weird landmark elusive deck, I could see. So you want to destroy the landmarks and then you have elusives to take the buff or maybe overwhelm. I could see it. But even then, like, it's kind of low value for a whole card slot. And now the last few cards. 3 more cards left. First off, Sandseer. 5 mana, 5/4 fearsome. It's not a great stat line, but it's serviceable. Play, draw 1, and then if you drew a landmark, repeat the effect. This card's great. The stat line is fine. It's really a 4-drop stat line. Like, I would play a 4 mana 5/4 fearsome. Like a 5 mana 5/4 fearsome's bad. 4 mana 5/4 fearsome's probably fine. So you're paying 1 extra mana to draw a card and potentially more. That's more than enough justification for the 1 extra mana, in my opinion. So, decent stat line, decent keyword in the form of fearsome, great play effect in the form of drawing 1. Even in a worst case scenario where this is just a 5 mana 5/4 fearsome that draws 1 card, it's still fine. Like, honestly, as long just drawing 1 is fine. And if you draw any extra cards, that's really, really good. Like, I don't think you need to try to abuse the card too much and try your hardest to draw multiple cards. Like, in other words, I don't think you need to make like 20 landmark cards or 20 landmark decks a thing with this card. I think you just play this card in your landmark decks, like landmark synergy decks. So, you know, your Talia decks, your Malphite decks, your XERATH decks. And if it draws only 1, oh well, whatever. But if it draws 2, it's great for you. So, yeah, I like it. Decent cycling card that has the potential to high roll and draw multiple cards. Big fan of it. And you can also argue like, oh, you can like cheat a bit with predict. So you play a predict card first, put a landmark on top, and then you play Sandseer. That's kind of cute, but it's, again, like I said earlier, don't try, in my opinion, don't try too hard to get an extra card draw out of this card. Unless, of course, like it's easy to do with like a cheap predict or something. But yeah, just be happy this is a 5 mana 5/4 that cantrips. And now the last 2 cards. First off, Unleashed Energy. 3 mana burst spell. Give an ally +2/+1 this round, or destroy an allied landmark to give it +4/+2 instead. If you're casting this as just a +2/+1, this card's extremely underwhelming. You're a landmark deck, so you're probably gonna, you already have a Shapestone to consider. This thing is 2 more mana than Shapestone, and if you're not destroying a landmark, you're getting 1 less stat. You're getting 2/1 instead of 3/1 of stats. So you need to destroy a landmark with this. Is this good enough, assuming you're always destroying a landmark? Yes. My issue is there enough synergy though? Like, you obviously want to use, like, the dream is you use this to either push in more damage or save a unit, or both, of course, while also destroying a landmark, getting some destroyed landmark synergy. But I'm not sure if there's enough payoff for this kind of card. I will say, though, it is a cheap, cheap is a strong word, but it is a cheap burst spell, so you don't have to pass priority, so that's cute. So you can use it to set up a really big attack. So I'm not the biggest fan of this card, but I can see it maybe as like a 1 or a 2 of in the right deck. Same for the next card, Servitude of Desolation. 7 mana burst speed spell. So 7 mana, it needs to do a lot. And it needs to not be too slow because turn 7, the game's starting to be over. This card does a lot, but it is a little slow. So what does it actually do? Summon a stasis statue to store all allied units and landmarks that died or were destroyed this round inside. Stasis statue is the landmark that you get from Ancient Hourglass. So basically, all your units and landmarks that died or were destroyed go into the landmark. You basically pseudo resummon them. So the first one is like, it's cute against a card like Ruination or Avalanche. That's cute. I've seen some people say like, oh, you can also use like Blighted Ravine. You play Blighted Ravine, the Blighted Ravine gets destroyed. And then you like suicide attack your units in, and then you play Servitude of Desolation. I'll say this real quick though, be very, very careful if you try to do that kind of play, because your opponent might see you trying to do that, because that'll be kind of obvious if you're trying to do that. They'll do the trade, and then they'll play like Scorched Earth or some other landmark removal, and then you'll probably just concede, in all honesty. So yeah, like, if landmark removal is popular, this card gets hard countered by just a single landmark removal spell, which will be sad. But it does do a lot of work, and it does need to do a lot of work for 7 mana, but I'm not sure exactly how many of these I want to play in a deck. It's like one. I think I would play one in most of my XERATH decks, especially if I have Predict. If I have Predict in my deck as well, I could see this being played as a 1-of, because Predict makes it more likely to be seen per game. Anyway, though, that's it for XERATH and XERATH support cards. I like these cards. It's building upon the landmark archetype, which is kind of struggling to see competitive play. So these cards might push landmark synergy and landmark decks into competitive play. Gives them another weird like line to attack from, not just playing landmarks, but now like also destroying landmarks too. Also, it helps out Sundisk decks. I'm not sure Sundisk is playable yet, but it does help out Sundisk decks. And again, like I said at the very beginning, we could only be seeing half of an archetype, and Ziggs will come out tomorrow, and we'll see more synergistic cards with Ziggs. Maybe Ziggs himself will have some synergy with XERATH. Or maybe we'll see something else completely, like Yuumi or Gnar or whatever. Anyway, though, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I would love to hear how you guys would build XERATH and what you think of some of these cards and what you think about my opinions on some of these cards are. I like XERATH. I just am a little underwhelmed by him and think he's a little easy to remove, but I like him. And I'm kind of also glad he's not too hard to remove, because he's definitely a backline champ. And we've seen what happens when backline champions are hard to remove in the form of Azir. Anyway, though, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please be sure to leave a like or a comment down below. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can always go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Senaton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video. And until I see you guys in the next one, bye.